Hi, writers. Mrs. Damazi here with another top-notch teaching lesson. Today's lesson is about personal narratives, and it's lesson 10. We're going to do some drafting, some revising, and a lot of work with mentor texts. Writers, before we get started today, let's remind ourselves of the writing process. So we are in the drafting and revising stage, and it's kind of tough, right? Because we're drafting part of our second story, but we're also adding in revisions and new things that we're trying on. So today, before you start drafting, I want you to be thinking about some of these revisions we're going to be talking about today. Before we get started with any of that, we're going to remind ourselves all the things we need to remember when we're writing a personal narrative. Remember to reach for the stars so you can attain those dreams, brainstorm those small moments, tell your story in 3 different scenes, practice how it's going, tell somebody at your house what your story is about, take stock of your writing, set goals for yourself, and edit as you go. So go back and reread your writing. Now we're in the revision process, even though we're drafting a second story. So last time we tried on new leads and we were trying to hook our reader. Today, we're going to study mentor texts and we're going to look at some really great personal narrative stories that other writers have written. And we're going to try on some of the moves that they do to make our writing even better. The book that I really want to share with you today is called Big Red Lollipop. And Big Red Lollipop is written by Roxana Khan, and it's illustrated by Sophie Blackall. And it's about a little girl who goes to a birthday party, and she gets this bag full of goodies. I know you can think about all those wonderful birthday parties you've been to, and all of those really fun goodies you get to go home and go through and see. And she has this big red lollipop, and she's one of those people that likes to save it, and she's saving it to eat it on another day. And her sister decides to eat it, her little sister. And you can imagine how upset she is. And so I'm going to show you a few of my favorite pages. This is a great book. And if you have a copy at your library or your house or your school and you want to read a copy, read it because it's so great. But I'm going to share some of my favorite pages, and I'm going to point out some of the parts that I love that I want you as a writer to pay attention to. So this is the first page of the book. And the first page, it says, "I'm so excited. I run all the way home from school." This action that describes what's happening helps us to play a movie in our head. I can visualize this main character running all the way home from school. She's excited. I know so much about her. She is thrilled about something. And so this action helps me to play a movie in my head and to get to know my character. This is another page from the book, and this is a page from when she's at this birthday party. And I didn't mention, but she has to take her little sister to this birthday party. So you can imagine the embarrassment and just the not wanting to go because she can't just go by herself. So on this page, it says, "At the party, I'm the only one who brought her little sister. Sana has to win all the games. And when she falls down during musical chairs, she cries like a baby." Now, I love this page, but I'm going to show you why. She makes a comparison. She doesn't just say that her little sister cries. She says she cries like a baby. And that helps us to play a movie in our head to know exactly what kind of crying she's doing. And it helps us to get to know both of those characters a little more. This main character isn't really looking at her sister as this big grown-up amazing person that she got to bring to the birthday party. It's kind of a negative thing, and it's really important for the story. Another page that I think is really important is this page. Inside, there are chocolates and candies, a whistle, a ruby ring, and a big red lollipop. Sana eats her big red lollipop on the way home in the car. I save mine for later. I love this page because there is a list, and I don't think you can see it because I think my face is covering part of it, but there's a list where she lists things that are in this bag. And when you add a list to your writing, it helps your writer to actually visualize the detail that you're adding into your writing. This is another great page. I hear a sound in the front hall closet. I should have known. That's where she always hides. I shove aside the coats and boots. I'm going to get you. Quick as a rat, she scoots through my legs and runs around and around the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, yelling, Ami, Ami, help, help. This page is amazing because she makes another comparison. She doesn't just say she's running quickly or she ran quickly. She compares her to running as quick as a rat. I don't know if you've seen a rat before. They are sneaky and they're fast and they move so quickly. You think, did I really just see that? And so it helps me to play a movie in my head so that I can actually see how fast this character is running. Here's another page that I really like. Ami comes out rubbing her eyes. Sana runs behind Ami, where I can't get her. What's going on out here, says Ami. Sana says, Rubina's trying to get me. Ami puts her hands on her hips. Are you trying to get your little sister again? She ate my lollipop. The greedy thing, she ate it. Ami says, for shame, it's just a lollipop. Can't you share with your little sister? I want to cry, but I don't. This is such a great page because there's dialogue. Dialogue is when your characters talk back and forth to each other, and it helps you get to know your character and it helps your characters come to life. She didn't just storytell that the characters were talking to each other about the lollipop. She actually said what the character said. That makes it really interesting. Another thing she did at the end of this page is she added internal thought. Internal thought are the things that your character is thinking or feeling but doesn't say out loud. This helps us learn more about the main character and what her feelings are in the moments that are happening in your story. Here are things that I've noticed in the Big Red Lollipop and in other mentor texts too. When you add action, lists, dialogues where your characters are talking to each other, comparisons, and internal thought, it makes your writing really interesting. It makes your reader want to keep reading, and it helps your reader play a movie in their head so they can see your characters and what's happening. Now, Big Red Lollipop is not the only book that has all of these great mentor text ideas. Here is another list of some of my favorite mentor texts. So Big Red Lollipop's right there at the top, but I love Saturdays and Tea Cakes by Lester Laminack, Jabari Jumps by Gaia Cornwall, Kitchen Dance by Maury Manning, When the Relatives Came by Cynthia Rylant, Fireflies by Julie Brinklow, New Shoes by Chris Rashka, Snow Sisters by Carrie Kokias, Grandma's Purse by Vanessa Brantley Newton, My Dog Mouse by Eva Lindstrom, and A Different Pond by Bao Phi. This is a small list of all kinds of mentor texts you could read, but these are a great example of some that you could check out and read to see if you can find some of those great moves that you want to add into your personal narrative. Now that we know all of those amazing things that we can add into our personal narratives, I'm going to share with you my last scene of my story. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to point out some of the places that I added some of those revisions in. Because while I was drafting, I was thinking about what I could do and how I could use what these other really great authors have done in their writing to make my writing even better. See if while I read through my third scene, you can find some of those places before I point them out. As we got the third present ready for the game, Danny shouted, "Third time's the charm." "Don't get your hopes up," I told him, even though I was silently hoping he would actually win this time. The game was moving quickly, and the oven mitts were flying through the air like missiles. We're getting closer and closer to Danny's turn, and his eyes kept getting wider and wider. When it was finally his turn, everything seemed to align perfectly because he actually unwrapped the gift. We all held our breath. His shoulders slumped over, and he hit his head with the oven mitt. He slowly pulled out what he had won. It was a picture of the Grinch. Everyone laughed and laughed. Okay, while I was reading my writing, I bet you noticed some of those really great mentor moves that we just talked about, but I'm going to point them out to you. At the beginning, I added dialogue where Danny said something and I said something back. It makes it really interesting when you get to know what characters said to each other. I'm going to tell you a little hint. This happened a while ago. Do you think I remember exactly what he said and exactly what I said? No, there's no way you can remember perfectly. So you just think about the characters and you think about what you might have said in that moment, and that's perfect. I also added in internal thought when I said I was hoping he would actually win this time. Now you know something that I'm feeling and thinking inside, but that I didn't share outside. So you get a little extra information about me. I also made a comparison when I talked about how the oven mitts were flying through the air like missiles. I didn't say that they were just flying through the air because that doesn't help you visualize it. Now you know. Now you know that those oven mitts were going so fast in the air. And then I also added action. When I said that his shoulders slumped over, that's what his body was doing. I didn't just say he was sad. I told you exactly what his body was doing so that you know what he did that helped me know that he was really sad. Okay, writers, that was a lot of information, but here's your to-do list. Now, as you draft your third scene, you're going to revise as you go, thinking about all the ways that you can add in those mentor text moves. So go back to that list and think about what mentor text authors do to make their writing really interesting. Try some of those moves on while you draft today and draft your final scene. Remember, drafting is fast and furious writing. Have fun, writers, and I'll see you next time.